I am a man of honor, integrity, and promise. I pursue all righteousness. I love my family. I will not put my family in harm's way. There is nothing that will keep me from doing the right thing. I am an ambassador of hope and a man of discipline. I am a man worth following. I am a TYRO.
Welcome to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Cathy.
And I'm Cathy TYRO. And for those of you that don't know who we are, Ron and I spent 15 years inside the prison system. Ron doing time on the inside, and my sons and I doing time on the outside.
In the start of this new series, we're talking about how to maintain a healthy relationship and how to build one.
Right, exactly, because actually it's probably how to build one, because most often we find that when someone's in prison, they have never built a healthy relationship. And so we want to help you understand why it's important and also how to actually build a healthy relationship.
So what you're saying is maintaining a healthy relationship is probably an illusion that men like myself once had when I was in...
Not necessarily. What I'm saying is when they came in, their relationship probably was not healthy. Now,
but I believed it was.
Yeah, of course you did.
I thought our relationship was healthy until really I started to sit down and really look at my life to see really what it looked like.
So this series, we're really going to give you really deep insights into the importance of healthy relationship, but also practical things that you can practice with your family to build a healthy relationship. And so it's actually a 5-part series. We're going to be talking about culture, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then the next show will be about trust, and then visits and letters and phone calls.
And also incorporate emails in that.
Right. Yeah, as we talk about letters, we're really talking about anything that you write and making sure that you are writing effectively that's building relationship instead of tearing it down.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is culture.
Right.
Really, what does it
focus on today?
Yeah, what does that mean? What does it mean to be in a culture that you have no understanding what it means to do time? How do you do the time instead of let the time do you? How do you maintain a healthy relationship? As Cathy was saying, with communication.
And how is it that the culture you're living in right now is affecting your relationships? Because we often, we find, and we found that when Ron went to prison, that we were like, okay, we just have to get through this situation, and then we can go back to being a family, and then we can go back to concentrating on our relationship. But the truth was, it didn't take us long to figure out the truth, and that is if we didn't start building a healthy relationship now, in spite of the distance and in the midst of the incarceration, that we knew we weren't going to make it. And so if you're thinking that, well, I just got to get my time, I got to do this on my own, and as soon as I get my time in, then I can worry about building a healthy relationship, then you're thinking wrong. And that's part of the culture that we're really going to attack today. We're going to define it for you on what it is, the cultural barriers on the inside and as you transition home, and how those things affect your kids. So you don't want to miss this. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
TYRO Dads will help you to see who you really are on the inside by coming to terms with your past, present, and future. You'll begin to move forward by using your time on the inside to transform yourself. We know you're not the only one serving time. Your family is too. Overcoming the issues that existed prior to and during incarceration are often more than what many families can survive. TYRO Dads has a unique method of reaching and healing families based on Ron and Catherine TYRO's own personal experiences. TYRO Dads works exclusively with incarcerated fathers who have minor children. The program lasts for 10 weeks and focuses on intensive character development. You'll be taught to take responsibility for your actions. To own it, you'll be prepared to overcome the obstacles of incarceration and transition back into your home and community, both successfully and permanently. Upon successful completion of this program, you will earn the title of TYRO, which means a warrior, someone learning something new. You will be one of the honored, a man worth following. If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO, or you want to know more, contact your local project facilitator or your institution staff.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron.
And I'm Cathy.
And today we're talking about the culture of incarceration and how to build and maintain a healthy family despite separation, incarceration, and even poverty, because more than likely, you're probably poor if you're in prison.
So this is part of our series on building healthy relationships. And when we talk about culture, we really want to help you identify the culture you're living in, because the culture of incarceration really infects relationships. Because some of the things that Ron was learning while he was in prison was like, I come in alone, I go out alone. You know what, you're supposed to be the man of your house, exert that authority even from a distance. And those things were not working.
They worked really well.
They were not working.
What we want to talk about is really how do you develop a different type of culture? How do you stop that culture of incarceration to penetrate your being? How do you stop it from dictating to you how you're supposed to live? Because you got to overcome this. You got to set a new precedent in your life. You know, a lot of the things that I heard is the saying, you can't, or who do you think you are? You know, especially when you're living with a label that nobody wants, or you're just living with the label of felon. You know, the society is putting upon you something that is a heavy lift to get up off you so you can become an overcomer. And becoming an achiever means that you have to change the way you think, you have to change the way you talk, and you have to change the way you act. And the first thing is changing the way you relate with your wife or your significant other, and then from there it would translate in how you relate in this situation with your children.
I think even before changing how you act or relate, you have to change the way you think. Because if you buy into that, you know what, I can't have a healthy relationship, I'm in prison. I'm not going to be able to make my relationship work anyway because of the distance and maybe I don't deserve it, then that is actually what's going to dictate your behavior. The way that you think is the way that you behave. So if you feel like it's not important or you can't make it, or no matter what you do, everybody's telling you, you know what, you're never going to keep her, she's never going to wait for you, you have to set that aside and invest in the relationship in a way that says, I'm not asking her to wait for me. We're doing this together. We're getting through this season together, and she's not sitting at home waiting until I come home so that we can build a healthy relationship. You need to begin working on it right now.
And how do you do that? How do you invest in a relationship that the society that you're living in around you is a society of destruction, dream crushers, a society of hate, a society of low expectations? Because when you're incarcerated, that thinking of low expectations, you're in prison. You don't even have to get up if you don't want to. You might be telling yourself there's nothing more to live for. Let me just do my time, and when I get home, I'll start all over again. And that's a farce, that's a lie, and it doesn't work. So if you don't begin now practicing some of the principles we're going to be talking about today in the upcoming episodes on really how to invest from the inside. From the inside, how do you invest from the inside to penetrate the loved ones and the people that you really care about on the outside?
So what was it, Ron, that really caused you to change your viewpoint of our relationship? Because I know shortly after you went to prison, we sat in a visiting room and you said, you know what, Cathy, I don't expect you to wait for me. You know what, if it's better and healthier for you and the boys and you guys are going to be happier, then I release you. So what changed your mindset so that you began to really fight for us and invest in us in a way that caused us to be healthier and stronger?
That's a great question. Probably a little bit more answering than for this time segment, but I want to just really set it up, hearing myself think for the first time. Really coming to a place of understanding that the situation I found myself in was nobody's fault but my own. And once I was able to really own it, then I was able to begin to let it go. And owning part of my story was owning the life that I had created for you and the boys. And understanding that I was in a place now where I couldn't give. I couldn't be the father that I was supposed to be. I couldn't not only be the husband I couldn't be, at least at that particular moment in my journey, in my life. And so the best thing I could come up with was, you know what? I don't know when I'm coming home. So if you want to, I release you. If you want to go on with your life and find a better way for you and Blake and Brandon to navigate and make it in society and make a better world for yourself than having me hold you back. At least that was my thinking. Right. I felt I was a burden and I was holding you back.
And I don't really think that was just your thinking. I really think that was part of the culture of being in prison. That's what you were hearing all around you was, you know, you're a burden to them and you need to just, if you really want your children and your wife to be happy, then release them. And that's not true. You know, that is a straight up lie. Now, if you decide you're not going to change and going to continue on in criminal behavior, then it's true. You know what? Release the people and let them that you care about. But if you really are serious about change and you're serious about coming home and reaching your dreams and being productive and being healthy and strong, then the best thing that you can do for your family is invest in them And that means stop thinking about just you, think about them, and find ways to support them in their dreams and their mission.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about things that I did to activate those principles in my life, and then go from there from what I had to do to really give that type of experience to somebody, and in this case,
what
to
I
you.
had to do, right.
And then we'll talk about what you had to do in order to help me to become that man that you saw in me before I knew existed, right? So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Playing catch, basketball, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. These are all normal things on the outside, but many times are missed in a visitation setting. TYRO Dads brings the same fun experience to the inside through Family Days. As a TYRO Dad, you have the opportunity to participate in this fantastic event. Family Day is designed to allow fathers and families to engage with each other through activities designed to stimulate communication, learning, and play. Family Days will not only be a highlight for you, but for your children as well. The Ridge Project has strategically developed Family Day as an opportunity to help you connect with your child throughout your separation and help both of you develop skills to continue building your relationship when you return home.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron.
And I'm Kathy.
And today we're talking about the culture of incarceration and how to build a healthy family. And then after you begin building it, how to maintain a healthy relationship despite incarceration, separation, and all the other barriers that come into play when you're not together.
when you're not together, it's like not even just not together, like you're living in different homes and you have the availability to be together. It's like when you're not together, when you just, it's impossible. You know, the distance and the barriers that prison presents is unlike anything else. You know, we encounter couples all the time and say, well, you know, the father of my children lives on this side of town and I live on this side of town. We're like, that is so surmountable. You know, try having the father of your children in a prison.
Or the stories what we hear where dad is home,
Right.
but he's absent all the time. His physical being is there, the body is there, but his mind and everything else that goes with that is somewhere else. And that is what really breaks my heart, when a dad has an opportunity to really engage and with purpose influence the life of the children. And
Which I would contend is probably most dads before they go to prison, is that you didn't really realize what you had and the value and the opportunity that you had to really connect with your kids because they were right there, either living with you or near you, that you could impact their lives, you could pour into their lives. And
But
so
we didn't
now,
do it.
Right, you didn't do it.
And that's a great
Right.
point. And that's where I was at. That's where I believe a lot of men are at that are incarcerated. That great point, Kathy, to really bring that to the light. You know, we had an opportunity, but we took it all for granted. Right?
And now you have a golden opportunity to really invest in your children and your spouse or mother of your children desperately need you to invest in their lives.
So how do you do that?
Yeah,
You know?
and I know when you were in prison, Ron, and I had a lot of people saying to me, you know, Kathy, you're young and you can find somebody else that's going to take care of you. You know, it doesn't even make any sense at all for you to invest in Ron. It doesn't make sense for you to have to stay with him. Don't feel obligated to stay with Ron.
And on my side, inside now, I know Kathy mentioned this earlier in this episode, that talking about guys who were telling me, you know, she's too beautiful, man. She's not going to be faithful to you. You can't expect her to even be faithful to you. And they were really, I mean, I'm getting hit with all this stuff, and at the same time, I'm combating it, believing the best in Kathy, that she can hold out. And then I knew, right?
That I could hold out?
Not only hold out, but for companionship,
That's
you know. Well, you know what?
Well, let me just dispel that myth. Like the whole thing.
But I am worth the wait.
You
babe.
are. You
All
are
right.
totally worth the effort that it took for us to get through those 15 years. But the myth is that, and I have people say this all the time, and it drives me crazy. So if you've heard us speak before, you've heard me say this. My pet peeve is when a guy in prison tells his lady on the outside, and doesn't treat her like a lady. Instead says, you know what, I know you have needs. You go do what you got to do. Just have room for me when I get home.
I was talking more of a broad brush, but that's more specific, right?
I know,
Okay.
and that's like so frustrating because it isn't about sex. It isn't about that part of the relationship. Right. That isn't what holds couples together in spite of distance. It's relationship. It's that sense of being honored and loved
Now, when I
and
came into
cared
this,
for.
when I heard this for the first time from Cathy, you know, it was in a room full of men, and Cathy said, no woman waits for a man for sex, you know, and I was just, what?
That's not why you waited?
So,
and that's the truth because, you know, that's taken out of the equation, you know, when there's incarceration, in Ohio especially, because there's not conjugal visits. And that really helps you know what your relationship, what the foundation of your relationship was. And so you have to build. It was not hard to be faithful to Ron because Ron was pouring into me and Ron was meeting needs that he never met when he was home, in spite of the fact that we were able to be physically intimate when he was home. We were not ever emotionally or mentally or spiritually intimate. And so learning to do that in prison.
it was amazing. It's
I mean,
been a great
now-
experience. And we understand how to activate that today in our life. How do you maintain a healthy relationship outside of prison when you leave penitentiary? Because these skills that we were able to acquire and to practice on a daily basis, we now practice them out here on a daily basis. We can recognize where if Cathy's whatever tank is running low, if it's that for me to spend time with her, okay, that tank is low. Just to listen, the tank is.
I have many tanks.
Right? Well, we all do. Yeah. You know what? And we all need to be aware of those tanks.
That's
for lack of a better description.
Yeah.
But to be aware of those tanks so we can fill that. This is part of the investment. I'm filling the bank. Okay, so Cathy has a lot of accounts, right? And so it's my job to fill up the accounts.
To make deposits. That's a really good analogy. To make deposits in those accounts so that there's a return on investment. So as Ron is navigating through that culture that's saying that you can't make it, why would you even think that? And I'm navigating out on the outside in the culture of very little support, people saying, you know, this isn't going to work, you know, what are you thinking? I gravitated towards the few people that were in my sphere of influence that were saying, you can do this. You can do this, and your family is worth saving. And that's the biggest lie you're going to combat in this culture is the lie that says your family is not worth saving. Your family is worth saving, and you have to fight with everything in you to save your family.
So surround yourself with men in there, guys. Surround yourself with, you know, I say often, just because you're my color doesn't make you my kind. And that's a powerful, true statement that I think everybody should really embrace. Just because you're my color doesn't make you my kind. See, if you don't think like us, you can't walk with us. And you got to come to a place and have courageous conversations with the men around you guys to find out really what their ambitions and goals are and what's motivating them or attracting them to you. If it's
and
negative.
Are they stuck in the culture of entitlement? Are they stuck in the culture of prison? Are they stuck in the culture of poverty? Because all of those things say that family is disposable, that family doesn't matter, that just the individual and what you need and what you want matters. But if you look towards the culture of healthy family or the culture of successful people, it's rare that they're getting divorces. Successful people are getting married, they're making sure that their family is stable and they're keeping their family together.
Successful people are conscious of the legacy that they want to leave behind.
Right.
And they, with purpose, pursue that legacy. They see it, they understand what it takes to build that legacy, and they begin to pour into that vision or that dream they have, and they don't allow other people to alter their dreams or visions. They might let other people influence or give advice on how to obtain it, right? But they don't allow people to come in and have that crayfish mentality, okay? And you know what I'm talking about. The crayfish mentality is when you're hanging around people, even other couples, and we see it all the time, where they're tearing down one another, and they're not lifting each other up, or they're tearing down, another couple is tearing down another couple.
Because they see you invest in each other and healthy and happy, and so what they do is they start picking and trying to find weak places and trying to pull you back in so that they don't feel challenged to change their status quo.
In fact, you either do what your friends do or you do
without them.
Or you do without them. And that's a powerful cliche. That's a truth principle that we adhere to because we've been told from the beginning of our own journey, especially when I found myself in prison, you can't. You can't do this. I remember as a child and having dreams and people telling us, you can't. But the truth is, we can.
So when we come back, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to explain to you and show you how important it is that building healthy relationships are and the culture that surrounds your kids and what you need to do to identify it and then overcome it. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron.
And I'm Kathy. And today we're talking about building healthy relationships and overcoming the culture of incarceration that really makes it difficult to identify a healthy relationship and pursue it.
And right now we want to talk about as you building your relationship, as you are working diligently to maintain what you have and to allow it to grow and help that which wants to grow, right? How do you transfer all that into your children?
And how do you actually, what is the culture that your children are being infected by that says that their family's disposable, what they want doesn't matter, and that they should be totally fine if their parents are together or not together. And that, again, that's a lie that has been permeated our society, especially those that are in poverty or incarceration. And so we have to do everything within our power to combat that so that we can help our children break free of those generational cycles.
You know, what's really revelation for myself, and it really transformed the way I think, is watching our sons grow up. And despite the bigotry and despite the low expectations
and the prejudices
that they were bombarded with, they have really overcome a lot of obstacles. They have become great, strong individuals, men in their own right.
I want to share a quick story. And so when as Blake and Brandon navigated through 15 years of different prisons and visiting their father in prison, and there was a lot of hardship. And I mean, you know, if you have children coming to visit you in prison, you know that experience. And it's not fun. It's not, but you can create the fun. We'll talk about that as part of this series later on. But we had somebody ask our sons, and they were probably 15 and 16 at this time, and somebody says, you know, do you wish that your parents had not stayed together, that your mom would have just moved on with her life so that you did not have to experience being in prison and visiting your dad in prison? I'll never forget. I mean, both of them looked at each other like, no. And my younger son, Brandon, he says, no way. Are you kidding? I cannot imagine not having my dad part of my life. And then fast forward, as our children are adults now, both of our sons are married and both of our sons are dads, and watching them be dads is just amazing. And I remember when Brandon came to the conclusion that he wanted to get married. He was 24 years old, and he says, you know what, Mom? I want to get married. I want to find that woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And he says, you know, I hope one day I can have a relationship like you and Dad. And it was just, it just felt like, you know what? All that effort, all of that investment, and all of the time that it took to really build our relationship was so worth it in the payoff, to watch our sons be successful, be employed, be working, never been to prison, never been caught up in drugs, never been caught up in alcoholism, and watch them thrive because we were able to set a new course for our lives. This is a big, big deal. We are breaking generational cycles.
It is a big deal to see our two sons grow up to become men of honor, men of the word, men with following. You know, both our sons are TYROs. And I tell you, watching them, you know, when I was their age, they are so far ahead of me when I was that age.
Yes,
and
they are.
It is so satisfying. And you talk about a proud dad. That's me. I'm a proud father of two solid young men. And to watch them navigate and still go through their own struggles and find their own way. And every once in a while they'll come to me for advice, and we do things together and all this type of stuff. But to really watch them own it, own their story. They're not letting anyone define who they are. They're not allowing their past to define who they are, but they've allowed it to qualify them for something greater.
Right. So when we think about investing in kids, it's super important that you invest in your children and in their lives. But it's more important You know, please hear this. It's more important that you invest and build a healthy relationship with the mother of your children or with your spouse. And if you're not in a current relationship but you have children, then you develop a healthy relationship to communicate with the mother of your children. And before you go into any new relationship, you make sure you've got a healthy foundation. And so this is really applicable no matter what stage, what chapter you are in your life. This information is going to help you build healthy relationships or find healthy relationships and build them and then maintain them across a lifetime.
Because if you're expecting, now remember guys, our best thinking got us in that seat called penitentiary. Your best thinking got you right where you're at. And if you're able to humble yourself and to really hear and to begin to change the course of your life today, and when you hear somebody tell you, I can't, you can combat that with, I can, and I will, and I am able, and I will do it. You know, I heard a story just not too long ago about a guy, and I don't know him personally, but I know we all know who he is. And the story was that when he was like 6 years old, he had a dream, and he wrote it in school. The teacher asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he wrote down, I want to be on TV, and I want to make people laugh. And what's really astounding, the teacher called him up and had him read out loud to the class, what do you want to be when you grow up? He wrote down, I want to make people laugh, and I want to be on TV. Then the teacher turned around and said, well, who do you know on TV? And he said, well, I don't know anybody. Well, do you have any family members on TV? And he said, well, I don't know, I don't have any family on TV. I don't know anybody. So the teacher told him, 6 years old, well, then you need to find something else to dream about because let's be more realistic. Well, the young man went home and told his dad, and his dad told him something so profound, and he practiced what his dad told him to do. He said, take that sheet of paper, son, put it in your top drawer. So every time before you go to bed, you take it out and you look at it. And every time you wake up, you take it out and you look at it. And do this from now on until you reach your dream. Well, today that man is Steve Harvey. I think we all know who he is, right? And so he didn't allow somebody to get in the way of his destiny. See, what's your destiny, Dad? What's your destiny, Tyro? You're not destined to be incarcerated for life, whether it's physically or mentally. That's not your destiny. Your destiny is to become somebody greater, that you can impart something into somebody else's life. And in this case, we're talking about your significant other, your spouse, your children.
And so as you look for opportunities to pour into your significant other, your partner, your spouse, the mother of your children, you are looking for ways to challenge and to support them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And I know I would not have been able to achieve getting off of welfare, buying a house, buying a car, doing all of the things that were taking me on my journey together, on our journey to become a successful, healthy, productive family. I would not have been able to do that without Ron as my cheerleader, as my encourager, as my constant source of encouragement. I would go to visit him and come home encouraged, not come home drained. And so as you're with us through this series, you know, take notes and think about the things that you can do to change your life and to change the lives of the people that are around you. So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to give you 3 tips that you can begin to mobilize right now as we continue on in our series. So we'll be right back.
Completion of TYRO Dads is just the beginning of the opportunities available to you. As a TYRO Dad, you will be eligible to participate in workforce strengthening services to help prepare you for employment and open the doors to economic stability for you and your family. The workforce strengthening program starts with job ethics training. Once completed, you may be eligible to receive training to acquire your commercial driver's license while still inside prison. If getting a CDL is not for you, then there is also a welding training program you may be eligible for. As more programs are being added, there really is something for almost everyone.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron.
And I'm Kathy. And today we're talking about culture and how culture affects or infects healthy relationships. This is part of our series on building healthy relationships, even from behind bars. And so this is actually going to be a 6-part series. We did the overview, and then today we're talking about culture. Next, we're going to be talking about trust, and then letters or emails, and visits and phone calls. All of those things and how to really leverage everything you have to build a healthy, sustainable, lifelong relationship.
So we want to just end this segment with 3 ways that you can build and you can help maintain a healthy relationship. But from inside, you know, how do you do that? How do you build this thing? How do you change the way you think? How do you change the way you walk? how do you begin to do this? The first thing you got to do is you got to write your vision down. You got to write your dreams down. And don't share them with everybody. You know, as you write your vision down in your journal or your diary or where you're keeping it at, you know, keep this close to you. This is you expressing the way you think. And if you don't like what you're writing, erase it, change it. Ask yourself, why am I thinking this way? Why? Now, let me say this. If your dreams don't scare you,
You're not dreaming big enough.
you're not dreaming big enough. So understand
It's not a
that.
dream.
So, you know, people would ask me all the time, you know, I would share with them my goals and visions, and they would tell me, man, those are too lofty, man. You can't achieve that. You're never going to amount to none of this. And so I began to stop sharing those dreams with those people, only because they're dream crushers. So really be conscious of who you share what you write with, which goes into the second one, which is surrounding yourself with people of like-minded. Surround yourself with people who are cheering you on, who are celebrating you, not tolerating you.
And that's not just for you, that's also for your partner. That's encouraging her to do the same thing, to write down, this is the goal, this is what we're striving for. And then the second thing is to make sure that you encourage her to surround herself with people that are going to help her to reach those goals.
Now keep in mind, though, as you begin to share your visions with your significant other, your wife, she may not hear it or see it right away.
Or vice versa. Maybe she's been telling you and you haven't heard it or seen it right away.
So don't be discouraged, but the proof is in the pudding. Because really, you know, where she's at, seeing is believing. So the first thing that she wants to see is probably, you know what, can you go a month without asking me for any money? You know, that might be a dream for her. You know, and that's a hard one, guys, isn't it? You know, can you go, they already know we're broke. They already know that we don't have any money in there. And you get on that phone.
And we're assuming you already know we're broke. You already know we don't have any money, right?
You know, but we still cross that line, last 15 seconds of the phone call, send me $20. But if you can begin to just do not despise small beginnings. Write your vision down. Qualify what you're saying. Is your dream scaring you? Because if it's not scaring you, it's not big enough. Share it with people that you know are like-minded, the people that you're surrounding yourself with that are going to celebrate you, not tolerate you, but that are going to encourage you to even be more specific in your dreams and visions and help you articulate it in a way that it turns into a plan or a process on how to achieve that goal or vision. And the third one is you got to become that example. You got to become that person in there that counterattacks the culture that you're living in, the culture of disdain, the culture of belittling, the culture of dream
low
crushing,
expectations and bigotry and prejudice against families that are suffering from incarceration. I use the word suffering, and we recognize that our own actions or our own inactions cause us to be where we are, but we still suffer through it, and we can use that suffering to produce character that helps us to be stronger in our relationships. When you talk about countering the culture inside, what I also want to encourage you guys to do is to counter the culture on the outside, because initially you might be the only cheerleader that the mother of your children has in her life. You might be the only person saying to her, you are worth this. You are worth, our family is worth saving. Our family is worth investing in. Our relationship is worth figuring out. Our relationship is worth building strong and healthy on a solid foundation.
Now, she may not want to hear this because she's angry, she's bitter, because you told her all this before. You know, you bamboozled her. How you say that word?
Bamboozled.
Bamboozled her. You know, you swindled her into something, in a false reality. But as you say these dreams and visions to her, you have to put in there, I am sorry. I am sorry. As you share your dreams and vision, apologize that the white picket fence you promised her from the beginning was an illusion and you had no understanding on how to acquire that. But fellas, you're in the place now where you can stop and you can actually think about process and how to make these things come to pass.
And in order to really counter this culture, like Ron said earlier, you've got to begin to invest and make deposits in every one of those accounts. The mental connection and healthiness, the spiritual connectedness and health, and also the emotional. So maybe you've been making a ton of deposits in the past just focusing on the physical relationship, but now those other three accounts or banks or whatever it is, tanks are empty. And so as you begin to fill those, you begin to bring balance to your relationship and a health and a longevity that is going to ensure you success, ensure your partner's success, and your children.
What's really amazing, when you begin to see these tanks becoming to get full, her life, the woman that you're investing this energy into and the deposits, her life, she will begin exuberating that type of expectations, that type of joy, type of forgiveness, type of loyalty. And she'll not only be so thankful of seeing the man that she fell in love with way back in the day, right? Not the lame that's in prison now.
Right.
Right? But really seeing, now that's who I saw at the beginning.
So as Ron poured into me, then I had something that I was able to pour back into him. But if I'm completely empty, then I can't encourage him and I can't inspire him. So as we close today's segment, or actually today's show on culture and really overcoming that culture so you can build a strong and healthy relationship, we want to encourage you to continue to join us as we step through the next one, which is trust, and then how to make your visits really effective and impactful, and then how to write a letter, whether it's an email or an actual letter, and finally, how do you manage those phone calls in a way that build healthy relationships between you and your spouse or your partner or the mother or father of your children.
So thanks for joining us today as we talked about culture and how to build and maintain a healthy relationship despite incarceration. So until next time, always remember,
That we are rooting for you.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of integrity.
I am a man of faith. I am the antidote.
I am a man of discipline. I am a leader.
I am strong.
I am a man worth following.
I am a TYRO.